We're going to have a little fun with this. Jim's first time. Obviously, you've been here numerous times. So we're going to have a little fun, some fun questions. I'll go back and forth so we kind of keep it changed up. So we'll start with Mr. Furyk here. I do a lot of teaching, work with all these college kids over here at the Sam Houston program, and I always ask them if there's a perfect swing. And my theory on swings is there's no perfect swing, but everybody has their perfect swing. And then I bring up you. Now, Mr. Furyk, all your success, all the stuff that you've done it's too long to even list it, but why hasn't any golf coach, why hadn't Michael Breed or somebody tried to teach your golf swing to somebody as much success as you've had?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that everyone's got their perfect swing. So my father was a golf professional, a teacher, and I think he was smart enough to realize that, you know, that loop, that pick it up abruptly, reroute the club honestly, it feels straight back and straight through to me. My practice swing is pretty straight back and straight through, and then you put the ball there and it doesn't feel any different to me, but I think he realized pretty early on that I wasn't very mechanically inclined, that trying to kind of connect the dots wasn't going to be the way that I was able to swing and trust under pressure. And my dad always had this belief that what came natural was repeatable, that you could trust it under pressure, you could repeat it. And so we just tried to refine my fundamentals and make those better. But I think trying to teach someone to swing that way, that's not their swing. So you kind of take, you know, being a teacher, you don't try to make every pupil, you've already said it, look the same. That
Right.
scares the death out of me, to be honest with you.
Right.
You try to take what that pupil has and you try to, you know, take the good out of it and refine what you can, I believe.
Right. And I do think that anybody that, and go ahead and elaborate on this a little bit, but anybody that has a unique swing, from yourself to an Orville Moody to anybody that had, you know, Trevino, the mental toughness, I think you guys and the ladies that have had that were all just a smidge tougher than the average person, because in junior golf, I'm sure people would say something, but then you go shoot a great score and beat their brains out, right?
I think my dad heard it a lot more. I mean, kids, you know, my friends didn't really say much. I'm sure adults looked at me, some college coaches looked at me and thought that that'll never hold up to the next level, and then I played pretty well at the college level. Well, that'll never hold up as a golf professional. I think my dad took a lot more heat. I think criticism. I think it was a big sigh of relief for him when I finally made it to the tour and had some success, and he could kind of go, okay, if it's one of your pupils, it's one thing. When it's your son, it's probably a lot more difficult. And so he took a little heat from some folks at home and from some golf professionals. But as a kid, no adult's going to walk up to a 14-year-old, 16-year-old and say, man, your swing's really goofy. I mean, I had a college coach come visit. He entered the house. I think it was literally during my high school prom. We had a coach that wanted to come visit. It was the only time he wanted to come. My parents took him out to dinner, and the first thing he said to my dad at dinner was, I can't wait to get him to school and change his swing. And my dad said, we can honestly have the appetizers and the glass of beer and we can go home, because I can promise you he's not coming to school there. You're definitely not what we're looking for. And so
your dad made the right decision there.
He made the right decision, and he was a good teacher and kind of knew my swing, and we still work together to this day.
Okay. All right, Stacy, because I know you, we're going to cue you up in a different direction.
Okay.
Then we'll bring it back a little bit more to go.
Okay.
So how does someone who wins the British Open, Women's British Open, find a husband from East Central Oklahoma, where I went to school and played golf? How does that happen? The short version of that.
The short version
yes.
is you get set up by my college golf coach.
That's how that happened?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so my husband's the women's golf coach now at Texas A&M. He was at Houston at the time, and my coach was trying to embarrass me in an event similar to this, with a lot more people though, in front of all the college golf coaches at their big convention. And it was a Q&A, and she gets up and says, well, there's probably a lot of eligible bachelors in this room. Are you single? That's what my coach did this to me. And so he was, I guess, and he's a male coach in women's golf, and he's sitting there with other female coaches, and he goes, well, she can't be that bad. I'd take her out. And so then somehow that gets back to my coach, and then 2 months later, we go out to dinner.
And there you go. Yeah, well, it's funny because I was there before him, but I bump into him like, holy cow. Well,
Yeah.
well, congratulations,
Small world.
and you got a
Yes.
baby, and things
6-year-old.
Well, it's
Not a baby anymore.
Not a baby anymore.
But yes.
Okay, well, I'll keep this on you for
Yes.
1 second.
Yep.
We have the Spirit International Amateur Championship coming up next week.
Yep.
It's a world amateur event. You've been the captain.
Yeah.
To keep it somewhat short, but just to elaborate on what was it like being the captain? What's it like being part of all that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I captained in, I believe it was 19 and 21. And 21 had Rose Zhang and Rachel Heck on the women's side. Like the women, they were so good. So, but it's just fun to be around the amateur game. I mean, it's so different than the professional world, and so it was nice to go back to that environment and see the kids being kids, hanging out at camp in their bunks, and but to get to represent your country, I mean, it's always such an honor. And I really got to, each team is 2 women and 2 men, and so I really got to spend some time with them. In 19, the guys were just struggling to make putts, and they're like, finally with like 8 holes left, they're like, can you read putts for us? I said, yeah, I can do whatever you need me to do. And so I read every putt for them coming in, and they went crazy, made a bunch of birdies, and ended up winning. So
I didn't know you were reading putts for them.
Yeah, so it was a lot of
Well,
fun.
we've got a group out there that needs a caddy, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that way though.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, you did a great job. You won both times, and Sam Bennett was on your team, was it?
Yeah, the last one.
So
Yeah.
Sam was so good that he showed up with 15 clubs on the first hole, got a 2-shot penalty, and still won the tournament.
Yeah, so yeah.
He did it.
Well, it was the girls' fault.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Yes.
the girls were teeing off and behind the boys.
Right.
And I get this thing, one of the officials radios, and it's like, hey, we're down here in the first fairway, and Sam's got 15 clubs in he's got an extra wedge in his bag. Well, it turns out Rachel had put her wedge in Sam's bag, which I don't even know how. I mean, Rachel's bag was on a push cart. Sam's was just on a stand sitting on the ground. And so Sam, I go up there and I get the wedge, and I told him, I said, the girls feel really bad. They're apologizing. He's like, no worries, I'll be under par by 4. Mm-hmm. And he was. And he ended up winning. He shot I think he shot 65?
65.
65 with a 2-shot penalty that day and won. So, I mean, the mindset was amazing. Yeah. Like, it was no big deal. And then it helped the girls because they, of course, felt terrible, and they ended up winning as well. But what's funny is I get back, and Rose and Rachel were both missing a wedge. And so I'm like, well, whose wedge is this? And Rachel's like, well, that's mine. And Rose is like, oh, I must have left mine on the chipping green. I'm like,
Yeah.
So.
But you're such a great captain. You still
Yes.
pulled out a win.
So you become mom. You become mom in there too.
There you go. All right, Mr. Furyk, which round, you're the only person in history to shoot 59 and a 58. Which round was tougher?
59 was a better round.
Better round?
Yeah, tougher golf course, tougher conditions, kind of a breezy day. Not taking anything away from the 58, but when someone breaks that scoring record, it probably will happen in Hartford, to be honest with you. It's a little bit of a short golf course these days, a place where you had Corey Pavin and Bubba Watson in a playoff. Back when, where you get the shortest and the longest guy kind of together. So you can take advantage of that course a little bit. Reachable par 4, reachable par 5s. The 59 in Conway, I think the next best score was either 65 or 66 that day.
Yeah,
so
that was
definitely
what a
separated
round.
myself from the field and just kind of had a day where it all went right.
Was the 58 easier after you had the 59, knowing that you've done it? I mean,
That'd be a fun. Yeah, 58 was pretty easy. It was fun getting the opportunity to do it again.
Yeah.
So I guess a little bit of, well, here we go again. You've done this once before. Because it's always a mental battle trying to break a barrier. Breaking 90, breaking 80, breaking 70, breaking 60. It's always a mental barrier that you get to a certain point and your mind starts to say, well, if I could just. And you start thinking about score instead of process and how you got there. And so the rounds were very eerie how close they were. 8 under on the first 9. Good starts on the back 9, and then it becomes kind of a grind and a mental battle to get it in and stay aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Made some birdies down the stretch in both of them, so very similar. And I was kind of reminding myself in Hartford of kind of being there and doing that before. And funny difference. So I'm playing with Gary Woodland and Jason Duffner in Chicago. And these two were like, I was pitching a no-no. They would not get within 15 feet of me. And we had a big wait on the 8th tee, and I was nervous. I knew I needed to make one more birdie to break 60. And I went over to talk to Duffner, and he walked the other direction. And then I walked one way, and Gary was trying to get away, and I just started yelling out, like, hey, Coach, let me look at your way. Like, I was just anything to talk. Like, I needed to get it out of my system. The opposite, I was playing with Miguel Carvalho in Hartford. We were in 70th place teeing off on Sunday, and his caddy, I mean, he walked with me up the 18th, talking to me the whole way. Like, he was nervous and he was chatting me up, and I was thinking, please get away from me. Like, I've got some work to do here. Just go. So
well, you pulled it off. That's amazing. All right. Got major winners here. British Open win. What was that like? And that it was at the home of golf. I mean, of all places that you could win that one, that's the place.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was storybook. I got to play the Curtis Cup there in 2008, and we had local caddies that week, and I ended up playing the old course 11 times in 7 days.
Wow.
And so I gained so much knowledge of the place. I learned, and that's where I learned how to play links golf, was in that Curtis Cup. And so going back 5 years later, my caddy from that week came back out and helped my current caddy kind of scout and told him where we need to hit it on certain holes. And I mean, to this day, links golf is still my favorite golf to play. And but yeah, just coming up, we had to play 36 holes on Sunday because there's too much wind on Saturday. We didn't play at all on Saturday. It was too windy. So we played 36 holes on Sunday, so it was a marathon. But just coming up, 16, 17, 18 there, and having, being in contention, having opportunity, and hit the shot of my life on 17.
That was a phenomenal shot.
Hit a 5-iron to 3.5 feet on the road hole. And then the putt, you actually had to play it outside the hole because it broke so much, and then made a, 20-footer on 18 for birdie, and then had to sit there for about 45 minutes to an hour I was not in the last groups because of the 36 holes, and so had to sit there and wait, and ended up winning by 2. So
you didn't go over to the Dunvegan while you're waiting, did you?
No. I went and hid in the locker room. I tried to get away from everybody.
Okay.
I didn't watch any of it. I went out on 18 when that last group was finishing, and I think Nyan Choi had to hole out to tie me on 18, and so so then from there, it was just the celebrations ensued, and it did end up at the Dunvegan. I was staying at the Dunvegan that week, so it was a pretty cool night.
And the whole Aggie history on that, you get in there, people who haven't been to the Dunvegan, if you don't understand the Aggie tradition, it's pretty cool. You're that far away from College Station, and you've got that much memorabilia there. So,
but the owner was from Houston.
The owner,
Jack.
Yes.
Jack and Sheena.
Yeah, they're from Houston. And cool stat was, prior to this year, so the LPGA played there in 2007. Lorena won. She stayed at the Dunvegan. I won in 13, and I stayed at the Dunvegan, but unfortunately, Lydia broke the tradition this year.
Could you get any sleep at the Dunvegan? I mean, that place goes pretty hard.
They have a loft across the street. Okay. So that's part of it. So that's where I was.
I've stayed over there before, yes. I didn't win, though. I didn't stay during the tournament, but I did stay over there.
Well, great fish and chips and great drinks.
Yes.
Okay, so here's one for both of you. It would seem, you've already answered it, but most memorable win. Jim, what's the most memorable win?
U.S. Open.
U.S. Open. And I would assume British?
Yeah, I've had a couple. Probably that one, and then winning in 2020 after I had my child.
Yeah.
So just the coming back and being able to get your body back in shape and the mental side of it.
How about the first one, too? Is that
first one's pretty sweet. Mine was a majors for my first one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That was your first of the major. Wow.
It's 2009 was the Kraft Nabisco.
Okay.
So major was the first win. So yeah, that one's up there too.
Wow. Well, that is great. Okay, so I'll ask you both this question. So let's say on a major, we'll say the U.S. Open or the Ryder Cup. What's more pressure? Playing in the U.S. Open, know you're going to win it, or being in the Ryder Cup first tee, what's more pressure?
Probably the Ryder Cup.
Ryder Cup?
Yeah, I would say when U.S. Open's a lot of pressure. I had a 3 or 4 shot lead going to Sunday and put a lot of pressure on myself to try to get over the hump. But the Ryder Cup's just different. You know, it's your country, so many folks pulling for you, your teammates. I mean, I always feel like guys can look at it and gals can look at it, the player can look at it so many different ways. You know, too many of the players from our side look at it as they don't want to let their team down, their country down, the fans down. But man, you can flip that and you can say, I've got all the support and I've got 11 people pulling for me and I got 30 million people at home pulling for me. And so there's different ways to look at it, but I would say more often than not, our teams tend to put more pressure on themselves in that environment they would in a major championship.
And British Open or Solheim?
Solheim. It's just it's a different pressure. It's not, and I think match play adds to that as well because each shot seems so important. Where in stroke play, you know, you can hit a poor shot and then you go get up and down and everything's fine. But in match play, it just seems to mean a lot more. And so, yeah, it's just a different pressure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go this route. Favorite non-major course on the PGA Tour?
Harbour Town.
Favorite on the LPGA Tour?
I don't know. We've moved around too many times. I'd say my favorite tournament is getting to play in Arkansas, where I went to school. Yeah. Just the hometown and just a fun week.
Okay. Well, that leads into another question then. Your husband's the coach of the Aggies. Mm-hmm. National championship, the Razorbacks and Aggies, ladies national championship.
Oh, that'd be
Who
awful.
are you rooting for?
Oh, that'd be awful. But I would probably I'd have to root for A&M.
Okay. Gig 'em whoop.
Football game, Arkansas.
Okay. But your husband's not coaching that team.
Yes, husband's not coaching the team, yes.
Okay. All right. So how about this one? One shot, if you could have one mulligan.
Only one?
You got one mulligan.
Oh.
Where are we taking it? Same's coming up for you, Stacy. Think about that one.
I gotta think about that one.
Oh, I got you guys on a good question here. I'm interested.
I ruined a lot of tournaments. I got a lot of shots to think about here.
I know. I'm thinking of like all the runner-ups and like.
Probably U.S. Open, I think it was 2012, and Webb Simpson won. Graham McDowell and I were battling down the stretch, and one of us should have won that tournament, and we both kind of handed it away. Not to take away from Webb, because he played a great event.
At Olympic Club, correct?
Olympic Club.
That one?
And on 16, the golf course, the 16th hole was close to 600 yards long, and they let us know they'd be using a forward tee, so you could play from 600 or say 570. Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, they moved the tee up 100 yards, and it was a 500-yard hole. That from there dogleg so much that hardly anyone in their right mind would hit driver off the tee. That's what they were trying to get us to do. Early in the day, a few guys did, but
Right.
Late in the day, the last 20 groups went through, no one hit driver off the tee, and I was unsure of what to hit. A hybrid 3-wood, and I decided on the 3-wood, not actually knowing where my target was, and I made a very tentative swing. I kind of hooked it in the left rough. It led to making a bogey on that hole. Ended up losing the event, and I mean it was a poor decision. Mm-hmm. I should have, when in doubt, you always take a club where you can make an aggressive swing. And so it was a hybrid or an iron off the tee. I would have known where to hit it. I could have made a really aggressive swing to that spot. And so I guess I've made some poor swings down the stretch, but that one probably sticks out, and I picked that one most because it was a mental error. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, would you say the same thing? I can get over physical errors, but making a mental error, it sticks with you, and you never forget it. Because I could have avoided it.
Yeah, that's kind of what mine is. Mine, I don't remember what year we were playing in China, and you're in Beijing, and it's foggy and smoggy, and the air's gross, so you can't really see on this 18th hole. And it's a par 5, and I think I had a one-shot lead at the time, but I was playing against Shan Chen Feng, was everything in China at the time, and I laid up on the par 5, I had a one-shot lead. There was water right. I mean, it was the right move, And she hits this, she goes for the green. She hits a shot, and like, I was like, man, that's going right. It's short. And so I kind of quit watching it. And then all of a sudden I hear the crowd going nuts. And I'm like, what happened? I asked my caddy, I'm like, what happened? He goes, the ball just hit a rock and went up onto the green. And they're going nuts. And so I was like, okay. And so it just threw me off. And I was distracted. And then once I got up to where my shot was, I could see like her ball was like literally this far from the hole.
Wow.
So she had a kick-in eagle off the rocks in the water onto the green. And so it was just like, I just wish in that moment I would have just taken a little bit more time, because I didn't hit a very, very good wedge shot. It was just like, it just so threw me off. And so I did, if I made birdie, I mean, we would have gone to a playoff. It wasn't like I was done at that point. Like I still had a chance, and I didn't hit a very good wedge shot, and obviously she won, so.
That was the 18th hole?
Yeah.
That is a crazy story.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ball was going like this, and hits a rock and goes.
Let's do 2 more questions, and we'll get you guys and ladies out there to play golf. All right, you've both had major championship wins with really cool trophies. I have been fortunate enough to actually drink out of the claret jug here when Todd Hamilton won it. They brought it. So we poured Silver Oak in it. What was your first drink out of the cup? Or do you drink out of a U.S. Open cup?
It was definitely a beer.
Because it's a big one.
It was a beer.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to know. I think it's like 11 3/4 or 12 3/4 beers fits in it. There's a number. Angel Cabrera was really surprised to hear that when I told him that when he won.
Yeah.
But I think it was a beer to start with. When funny thing about the U.S. Open trophy, you go through a ton of media. The tournament ends late at 7. I probably didn't get out of there at Olympia Fields till about 10 o'clock. I hopped in this van with my family, and they handed me the case with the trophy in it and said, make sure you bring it back engraved next year. So the USGA doesn't engrave the trophy. So my own tape, they're so cheap, they won't even, they make you get it engraved. So, we laughed and chuckled, but I couldn't wait to get home and pull it out and see if they were joking with me or not. And you pull it out, your name's not on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the whole neighborhood where we were staying, we rented a house, was kind of waiting for us. So we ended up kind of partying with the neighborhood for a little while. I had a bunch of friends, family there, and so we drank a lot of beer out of that first night.
All right. How about you, Stacy?
Well, I never got the trophies. Yeah, so like first major, I mean, the trophy's ginormous, and you take pictures with it and they take it away, and I never saw it again. And same thing now, our British Open now, they do similar to what the guys do, where you get to take it with you and carry it around. But again, I took pictures with it and never saw it again. And
Come
they
on.
send you,
Really?
And they sent you replicas, yeah.
Take it back. The RNA
I
is way
know,
worse than
I
the
know.
USGA.
Wow.
I know. Well, the RNA fixed it from when the RNA came on board. But the Solheim Cup trophy has been filled up several times.
And what was it filled up with?
Champagne was first.
All right.
And then it was multiple things throughout the
I
evening.
bet.
Yeah.
All right, so last question. I'll start with you, Stacy. Your last round of golf, who's your foursome and where are you playing it? Same question for you, Jim.
Probably be my husband and my dad and my daughter, and anywhere close to home. I don't care where it is, just somewhere close to home.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I'm probably going the same. Dad taught me the game. My son is an avid golfer. He's a lacrosse player, but he loves golf. And my daughter plays a little bit. She plays a few times a year, but enjoys it. And I think you keep it close to the family. And Dad doesn't play much. He's threatening to come back and play more. So maybe that would get him back.
Okay. Which course would it be if you did?
I get to pick any?
You get to pick any golf
I'd
course.
go somewhere I've never been before, like I'd go to Sand Hills.
Okay.
How's that? That's a place I've always wanted to go.
Well, thank you two for coming here. It's been delightful talking to both of you. I hope you've already seen the golf course, but I'm looking forward to Jim getting to see what the best golf course in Texas has. And let's go have a great time today. Make some birdies and enjoy yourselves. Thanks so much, Jim.
Great, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stacy.
All right, nice work.
Thanks, Stacy.